girls, do you know what woke me up this morning? Well, technically it was my dog barking loudly. But the thing that woke my dog up were the birds outside our windows. Because so many of those birds are just so happy for the warmer weather. They're so happy for the new leaves and flowers growing. One of them tried to build a nest on my porch. I think my dog barking made it change its mind. But there are just so many birds all over the place. I even saw a bright red cardinal. Isn't that amazing? And so I decided I wanted to tell you guys some stories and sing some songs that have birds in them today. Are you ready? What's your favorite kind of bird? Is it a big bird? Is it a little bird? Is it a loud bird or a quiet bird? We'll see what our stories are about. Let's get started. Clap your hands if you love stories. Clap your hands, I know you do. I'm so glad that we could be together. Glad to share a story time with you. I'm going to tell you the story now of the sparrow and the ant and the fox. Sparrow lived with her beautiful children in a lovely nest in a huge tree. And she went out every morning to peck and peck and peck and find lots of seeds and berries and good things for her children to eat. Birds work very hard like that, don't they? At the bottom of the tree lived the little ant. And the ant also was a very hard worker, as ants tend to be. But one day, the little ant woke up with a sore throat and wasn't feeling very good at all and didn't have any energy to go out and find food. She couldn't even get up and walk a straight line. She had such a bad fever. The sparrow, when she went out to find her seeds, noticed the ant sitting kind of in a sad lump and said, "It seems like you're not feeling so well today." And the ant said, "I've been sick. I was sick yesterday, but now it's so much worse. And now I just can't get up and find food. And there's no food left in my house either." And the sparrow said, "Don't worry. I am going out to get food for the children, and I'll bring back some extra for you." And she went straight away to the biggest bushes and biggest plants that she knew that had lots and lots of good food. And she brought back plenty food, plenty enough for her children and for the ant. And the ant was able to rest. And because of that, she was able to get better from her illness much more quickly than she would have if she'd had to work to find food while she was still sick. And the two of them became very good friends. Well, day after day went by. And one day, when the sparrow was still out looking for food for her children, Ant noticed a fox creeping along the ground at the bottom of the tree. The fox was listening, and she could hear the baby birds tweeting away in their nest. And the fox was looking for food too, but foxes don't eat seeds or berries, do they? Well, the fox couldn't climb the tree, and so she was thinking about how to get the baby birds to come down to her. And she thought, if I pick up one of these rocks and throw it, maybe I can knock the nest down. And so she looked around at the rocks, tried to figure out which one was the best one to get the best aim. Well, the ant was watching this whole thing, and she knew exactly what that fox was going to try. She wasn't strong enough to drive the fox away by yelling and fighting, and she certainly wasn't fast enough to go bring the sparrow back home to save her children. What could she do? What could she do? Well, as soon as the fox picked up what it thought was just the right rock and got ready to throw it, the ant got scared enough that she thought she needed to try whatever she could to save those babies. And so she quietly crept up to the fox's foot and bit him hard. I don't know if you've ever been bitten by an ant, but it hurts." And the fox spun around, yelping, and grabbed its foot, looking for what on earth could have attacked it. She didn't see the ant in the grass, so she was frightened about whatever invisible creature had attacked her, and she quickly ran off into the forest. In the meantime, the baby birds heard such a ruckus coming up from the bottom of the tree that they started chirping and chirping louder and louder to try to get their mom to come save them. And the sparrow came back, hearing that, and she settled the birds. And they felt better then, and she felt better seeing that they felt better. And she went down to the ant to see if she knew what had happened. And the ant told her about the fox. The sparrow was overcome and almost cried with relief and said, "Thank you, dear friend. You've saved my children." And the ant said, "It's my duty. You helped me, and I helped you. That's what friends must always do." I'm going to teach you a finger play about a bird. But more importantly, I'm going to teach you one part of sign language. Do you know how to say bird in American Sign Language? Take 2 fingers like this and make them your beak. That's how you say bird. So here's our finger play, little bird. Little bird, fly around, up to the sky and down to the ground. Little bird, flap your wings, open your beak and sweetly sing. Little bird, fly to your nest. Now it is time to take a rest. Should we do that one more time? Make your little bird beaks. Little bird, fly around, up to the sky and down to the ground. Little bird, flap your wings, open your beak and sweetly sing. Little bird, fly to your nest. Now it is time to take a rest. Now I'm going to tell you the story of the king of the birds. Did you know that birds have a king? They didn't used to. All the other animals seem to have their king, including people, of course. And the birds decided one day that that wasn't right. They wanted their own king. And so they decided they were going to have a competition to see which bird was the best among them and would be their king. After many days of arguing and debating about what was the best kind of competition to have for this sort of thing, they decided they would hold a contest, and whichever bird could fly the highest would be the king of the birds. The day of the competition, all of the birds took off and flew into the sky in a great big giant flock. And some of them started to land pretty quickly. The little songbirds landed first. Their tiny little wings weren't strong enough to carry them very high. And pretty soon the ducks started to land, and the crows, and the other middle-sized birds. And soon only the strongest of the eagles was flying up in the sky. The eagle climbed higher and higher and higher until he looked down and everybody else was beneath him. And he cried out, "I am the king! I am the strongest! I can fly the highest!" And he started to fly back down, but then he heard some fluttering higher than him. Well, he looked up, and it was the little tiny brown wren. That wren had hidden in his wings and let the eagle carry him all the way up into the sky before taking off to flutter on his own above him. The eagle was so upset, but he was too tired to fly any higher than he was. He had no choice but to head back to the ground. Once they landed, the little birds were so excited. They were sure that one of the biggest birds was going to be the winner, and they'd been too afraid to complain about that. Well, the bigger birds were very upset. They formed a circle around the little wren and they said, "You only won because of trickery and cunning. That's not fair." And the little wren said, "Eagle would only have won because of bravery and strength. Why are those any more important than cunning?" Well, they complained and they argued and they complained and they argued, and they decided they were going to have another competition. They said, "This time, whatever bird can swoop the lowest will be the king." And so on the day of the competition, they took off and they tried swooping as low as they could to the ground before pulling up so they wouldn't be hurt. And the strongest birds with the strongest wings could get the closest to the ground before they could pull back up. The little wren, with its sharp eyes, noticed a mouse hole in the ground. And so when he swooped down, he swooped right into that tiny little mouse hole where no one else could fit. And he cried, "I'm the lowest, I'm the king." Those bigger birds were even more upset. They said, "Fine, you're the king. You'll be the king of the mouse hole." And with that, they started taking turns guarding that mouse hole so the little wren couldn't come back up. If he tried, they would peck at him so he'd have to go back down. Days passed, and the wren stubbornly stayed down there in the hole. Until one night, when the giant screech owl was guarding the hole. And then the sun started to come over the horizon because morning was here, and that sun temporarily blinded the owl, whose eyes were built for nighttime more than daytime. And in those moments, when the owl was first blinking and trying to be able to see again, that wren darted out of that hole quickly and flew away as fast as it could. And so the little brown wren is still the king of the birds, but it has to hide. It hides in hedges and bushes because it knows those bigger birds are still mad because they're embarrassed that they couldn't win their competitions. And they know that if they ever see that wren again, they're going to have their revenge. And so the wren hides. But all the other little birds always come and find the wren to talk to it because they know the wren gives the best advice because it is so brilliant and cunning. All right, I want you to get ready, get fired up. We're going to sing a song today that is one of my absolute favorites, but it's also one that I tend to probably mess up more than any other song that I sing with you guys. In fact, I've already been practicing a little bit today and my fingers are getting sore from starting over making mistakes. But you know what? You know what the thing about mistakes is? They're fine. Everybody makes them. And all you got to do is get back up and try again. All right? And sometimes we can laugh at them. And that's okay too. The song is, the reason I mess up on this is because it starts going faster and faster and has lots of things to remember that keep adding up and up and up until it gets hard to remember them all. The song is "The Green Grass Grew All Around and Around." Remember this one? Here we go. And it starts, as it always does, in a field. Let's get ready. Out in the field, there was a hole, the prettiest hole that you ever did see. There's a hole in the field and the green grass grew all around and around and the green grass grew all around. Pretty simple to start, right? And in that hole, there was a root, the prettiest root that you ever did see. There's a root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around, and on that root there was a trunk, the prettiest trunk that you ever did see. There's a trunk on the root, and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around, and on that trunk there was a limb, the prettiest limb that you ever did see. There's a limb on the trunk and the trunk on the root and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around, and on that limb there was a branch, the prettiest branch that you ever did see. There's a branch on the limb, and the limb on the trunk, and the trunk and the root, and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that branch there was a twig, the prettiest twig that you ever did see. There's a twig on the branch and the limb on the trunk and the trunk and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. Are you ready now? What do you think's on the twig? And on that twig there was a nest, the prettiest nest that you ever did see. There's a nest on the twig on the branch on the limb on the trunk and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And in that nest there was a bird, the prettiest bird that you ever did see. There's a bird in the nest on the twig on the branch on the limb on the trunk in the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that bird there was a wing, the prettiest wing that you ever did see. There's a wing on the bird and the nest on the twig on the branch on the limb on the trunk and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that wing there was a feather, the prettiest feather that you ever did see. There's a feather on the wing on the bird and the nest on the twig on the branch on the limb on the trunk and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that feather there was a spot, the prettiest spot that you ever did see. There's a spot on the feather on the wing on the bird and the nest on the twig and the branch and the limb on the trunk and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that spot there was a bug, the prettiest bug that you ever did see. There's a bug on the spot on the feather on the wing on the bird and the nest on the twig on the branch on the limb on the trunk and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that bug there was a leg, the prettiest leg that you ever did see. There's a leg on the bug and the bug on the spot on the feather on the wing on the bird and the bird on the nest on the twig and the branch, nest on the twig on the branch on the limb on the trunk and the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that leg there was a foot, the prettiest foot that you ever did see. There's a foot on the leg and the leg on the bug and the bug on the spot on the feather on the wing and the wing on the bird and the nest on the twig and the twig on the branch on the limb on the trunk on the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that foot, one more, there was a toe, the prettiest toe that you ever did see. There's a big breath. Toe on the foot and the foot on the leg and the leg on the bug and the bug on the spot on the feather on the wing and the wing on the bird and the nest on the twig and the twig on the branch on the limb on the trunk on the root in the hole in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. Good job. Well, tweet, tweet, tweet. That's all the stories and songs we have for today. I'm so glad that you were here to listen to them with me. It's going to be May next week, and then we'll have lots more spring stories and lots more warmth. I hear tell that we're even going to have some outdoor story times outside of the library. Won't that be fun? The library is open too. I've seen some people coming in, not too many. So I know that there's plenty of room here for you if you want to come and say hi. I hope that you do. I hope you come in and pick out some really good books. You can even ask me for some recommendations. I've got lots of suggestions. You just tell me what you like, and I'll find you a great book. But for now, let's get a great big stretch. Ooh, that feels good. And reach even higher. Reach for the ceiling. And touch the floor. Stand up again. Let's do some more. Touch your head. And now your knees, up to your shoulders, like this, you see. Reach for the ceiling, and touch the floor. That's all there is. There isn't any more. Go fly away.